اسمعوها مني، لان حتى هم دلوقتي كل الدنيا ولا ايه فيقول لك لا اسمعوه. مين الدنيا؟ خبراء المخابرات والسياسيين والاعلاميين وكبار الفلاسفه لو حبيتوا.
والمصريين صدقني يخنقون حماس اكثر من نحن عم نخنقهم. مصريين عم يخنقوا غزه، ومصر تكره حماس اكثر من اسرائيل تكره حماس. الاخوانجيه هدول هذه هي العداوه المشتركه. حماس هي اخوان مسلمين. وعبد الفتاح السيسي لما قال هيدا عن اكتوبر هو لم يهدد اسرائيل. السيسي صهيوني اكثر مني، كيف حيهدد اسرائيل اكثر مني؟ كيف حيهدد اسرائيل؟
صهيوني أكتر مني، كيف حيهدد إسرائيل؟
A 1,000 years ago, the Arab world would have had all of the Nobel Prizes, science, art, peace. They would have gotten them all 1,000 years ago. So what changed was this guy Muhammad comes into play, and honestly, we're dealing with a text that is ancient and not helpful.
Egypt's having the damnedest time right now, and we should like put al-Sisi on a pedestal. You know, honestly, I mean, we should, because you know, it's like the guy is like, he recognizes it for what it is. Now, why? Maybe he spent a lot of time in the West. Maybe because he's got a decent education.
Rabbi Hausman mentioned President al-Sisi of Egypt. President al-Sisi is a good friend of mine. I've known him for a long time. He and I were we were colleagues when I was the senior intelligence officer at U.S. Central Command down in Tampa. We had responsibility for East Africa, the Middle East, and Central Asia. And al-Sisi was the head of intelligence at that time in the Egyptian military. So he and I became friends, actually. This is Islamism, and it is a vicious cancer inside the body of 1.7 billion people on this planet, and it has to be excised.
I'd like also to welcome Mr. Tzvi Mazel, who is a former Israeli ambassador to Egypt and a senior researcher at the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs. Welcome. Yeah. Ambassador Mazel, the last sentence to you about Israeli-Egyptian interests.
Yes.
One sentence.
Israel and Egypt are in the same bed.
Israel and Egypt are in the same bed.
But before I do that, I just want to drill down on something. This is a group of professionals, and I want to make sure that we're all speaking at the same level. Understand that the Quran, the scripture, and even the hadith, which are the legal sunnah, those sunnah that have legal implications, in and of itself, while it's the basis of Sharia, the threat doctrine, in and of itself, it's somewhat meaningless. In the same way that in the Torah or the New Testament, there is the lex talionis, an eye for an eye. It literally says that. But what comes on top of that is everything. Sharia is scripture and it is hadith. But what it really is millennia of usul al-fiqh, the science of Islamic jurisprudence, fiqh. That doctrine tells the devout Muslim what abrogation is. It tells the devout Muslim how to read any particular surah. The problem that Zuhdi has, and I'm a great admirer of Zuhdi's, and we have all kind of gone back and forth on that. But the problem he does have is if you're going to ask any moderate or academic Muslim who wants to read those verses differently than they have been over 1,000 years, he has to figure out a way to, as it were, replace the ulama, the legal authorities.
مش معقول يكون الفكر اللي احنا بنقدسه ده يدفع بالأمة دي بالكامل ان هي تبقى مصدر للقلق وللخطر والقتل والتدمير في الدنيا كلها. مش ممكن يكون الفكر ده. انا مش بقول الدين، انا بقول الفكر ده اللي تم تقديسه، نصوص وافكار تم تقديسها على مئات السنين واصبح الخروج عليها صعب قوي. لدرجة ان هي بتعادي الدنيا كلها. بتعادي الدنيا كلها. يعني ال1.6 مليار هيقتلوا الدنيا كلها اللي فيها 7 مليار عشان يعيشوا هم؟ مش ممكن. انت مش ممكن تكون وانت جواه حاسس بيه. مش ممكن وانت جواه تكون حاسس بيه. لازم تخرج منه وتتفرج عليه وتقراه بفكر مستنير حقيقي. ده انت محتاجين تتوقفوا بشدة. وانا بقول تاني احنا محتاجين ثورة دينية.
And its so-called president, al-Sisi. Is al-Sisi really a patriotic Egyptian military man? I don't think so. When al-Sisi overthrew the first democratically elected government in 5,000 years of Egyptian history, it wasn't surprising that the Israeli ambassador called al-Sisi a national hero for all Jews. A national hero for all Jews. Sisi obviously overthrew the Egyptian government on behalf of his paymasters in Tel Aviv. Everything he's done since then bears this out. And of course, it's no secret that al-Sisi was the Israeli liaison to the Egyptian military during his time as a general. When the Israeli liaison to an Arab country's military, an Arab country that, by the way, is largely occupied by and on behalf of Israel, taking billions of dollars from the American taxpayer in return for doing whatever Israel tells it, that military liaison, in this case al-Sisi, is obviously very, very close to the Israelis, and that such a person would be the one to lead a coup d'etat, essentially that in itself. Since taking power, al-Sisi has been taking one step after another to benefit the Israelis. He's allowed the Israelis to destabilize the Sinai. So-called ISIS in the Sinai is another Israeli-supported paramilitary operation that's used to justify closing the border with Gaza, declaring a state of emergency, and so on. And al-Sisi has gone along with all of that. But most importantly, recently, General al-Sisi is working with Trump and Netanyahu plan to formally, quote-unquote, end the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which really means turning the whole region over to Israel. Basically, it's the Greater Israel Plan. It's no secret that the two blue stripes on the Israeli flags symbolize the Nile and the Euphrates. The Israelis believe that the Bible gives them all of that land, and they are planning to take it. And they have taken. They own everything up to and including the Nile today. And al-Sisi is giving away Egypt's biggest strategic assets. Not only is he rolling over in front of this plan to dam the Nile and starve Egypt, but he's also giving away the two islands in the Red Sea that are crucial strategic assets for Egypt. These two islands command the Straits of Aqaba along Egypt's eastern border. They are key to the Israelis, who took them. They are going to just hand these islands to Saudi Arabia, which in turn is handing them over to Israel.